Alright, so I want to do some data analysis on a 15 question quiz I have here. So what I do, I set up my students in different rows. Here's all the names of my students, and I set up my questions as different columns. Here I have 15 questions for 15 questions in this test. Now I'm basically going to look at this as right and wrong. So I want to set up a grid, and I like everything to be formatted really nicely. So I want to put actually a grid on this and put the borders in. So I'm going to assume everything is 1. So I'm going to add 1s to this, and I'm going to fill everything with a 1. You'll see why in a second. So I'm just clicking the bottom here, which kind of fills across to get that in. So if I take here, and actually this is easily done with a partner, if someone else is reading through these numbers saying, alright, for Abby here, she got number 2 wrong, I'm going to put in a 0. And 5, 9, and 12. And let's say, okay, we go on to Betty. Betty got 1, 6, 9, and 13 wrong. And we fill through and just add zeros to all the ones we need to. I'm going to pause and fill in the rest here. Okay, so as you can see, I filled in all the rest here with some 1s and 0s, just with the method I just described. So now I have this grid of 1s and 0s, right or wrong, right? Easy to do with multiple choice questions, true, false, anything that's not an open response. I can actually do it with an open response as well, but I'll show you that a little later. If I go to the column over here and I say equals an average, all caps and a parenthesis, I can select the average of this entire row. So this is 1s and 0s. That will tell me, first a decimal, I actually want to make that a percent because it looks better as a percent. Tells me that Abby here got 73% of these questions correct. So I'd see the average right there. And actually, I've timed myself because I'm a nerd and I do that. I can fill it in and take the average here quicker than I can actually add it up on a test by hand. And I can get a lot more information out of this. Since I did this for the first one, I can just click this down here and fill down to get everybody else's score here. You can also, I just select and I can also press Control D and it'll do the same thing. So now this took the same formula with the average of all these scores for everybody else. Now I have the entire everybody's average. And I actually can go here and take equals an average of, or I can go, let's do this over here. I want to take the average of the class. So the average for the class equals average of all of these scores. Alright, and I get the average of 79. Now that's good for getting student information, but I want to do some data analysis, so I want to get question information too. I can do the same thing with columns, so I'll go equals average and get the average of this column, which is for this question, question number 1 specifically. That tells me that 0.8, or if I'd make it a percent, 75% of the people got question number 1 right. Well, that's not bad. I can do the same thing by clicking filling over and doing the same thing for all of these questions as well. Now I can see, okay, 88% of people got number 5 right, so they did pretty well on that. 69% got 10 right, so maybe that wasn't so great. 63% got 13. I can pick out right away, and actually I didn't really plan this very well because I just kind of threw in some numbers. Let's say I have a number, maybe one like 15 over here, where only 25% of the people got it right. I look at that and I go, okay, a couple questions. I have to look back in the question, and it's either A, it's just a hard question, and this is my, my A question, my A-level question as to this is my high-order thinking question that is just difficult, or I worded the question poorly and people didn't understand it, or there was a really good detractor and maybe this is something I need to cover better next time. So I can get a lot of information just from that, just some simple averages of your rows and columns. So just to kind of summarize, I made a grid, my students, and my questions. I filled the whole grid with 1s. I then added 0s as I went through tests to see which ones they got wrong, basically. Or you could do it vice versa. You could start with 0s and add 1s. I took an average of the row to get whatever the student got on that. I took an average of the column to see how they did on that question, how the class did on that question, and that right there gives me a lot of information to work from.